Hello, listener. Welcome to episode 3 of the Best Ball, brought to you by Best Ball. Oh crap, I just forgot the name of our whole podcast.
The
It's only
whole
been 3
story
weeks.
podcast.
The whole story podcast.
Yeah.
Usually Robby does these introductions, which is why he thought maybe I could try and practice today. But it is Sunday night at the Masters, so we're at Butler Cabin West to start our evening off. I apologize if that's trademark, but no, Butler Cabin West should be okay. And so we're just going to recap the Masters this week. Obviously, all of our guests. John was going to come on, but he's busy. Apparently, he won a tournament today, so he's not able to make it for our interview. But maybe next week we'll see if we can get him in here. So, Robby, if you're like everyone else, and I know you were, what was your takeaways on the weekend of golf, and what were your favorite moments this week?
Oh man. Well, one, I think Masters is my favorite tournament to watch.
Yeah, sure.
I do love the Open Championship as well because it's the link style golf and there's weather, but we had a lot of weather this weekend. So it was neat to see the guys battling it out in tough conditions. We got beautiful weather today. It seemed plus a little wind at Augusta. It looked great. Obviously you wish you were playing it, but it was just a fun weekend to see all the guys out there competing and playing well. And obviously there was a big swing from on the leaderboard on Sunday. So it was a great Masters that I think people will remember for a long time. And we had the trees falling and almost landing on people. Thankfully not, but it was Augusta National, right?
In true Masters form, the trees fell, and less than 15 minutes later, there's guys out there with chainsaws. I don't know if you saw, I think they already had it completely covered and roped off a little bit yesterday, and I think today they even have grass down. And
Probably.
the only remnant of the trees falling was the fact that it kind of dented the fairway just in front of the tee box
Did
where they all came down. But
did you see the video? Like there was a person, three trees fell. There was a person that it like went on
just
either side of. Like,
barely missed.
yeah.
Yeah, we were wondering if the ambulance chaser lawyers would be outside handing out business cards for anybody that needs to possibly sue the Augusta National
Oh
for
well,
uh
I was telling somebody earlier that every ticket of every sporting event you go to says you're coming at your own risk, right?
that's
We're not
right.
responsible for anything. So I'm sure the way Augusta National does their business, they are probably ready for somebody to say, "Hey, I slipped," or "I got hit by a tree." So I don't think they would have a problem with that. It would be a sad mark on the weekend. So I'm glad nobody got hurt.
Um I don't know I don't know what you do if someone actually did get seriously injured, right? Because, in some sporting events, like for example, we just had this happen in the NFL where the Buffalo Bills player
Mm,
on the field almost dying, and then they decide just not to play, and they never even made that game up. So it would have been tragedy, obviously, and also very interesting from just a logistical and sporting side of things that they had continued on. But fortunately, everybody seemed okay. Hopefully, that one patron got a brand new chair. Their chairs seemed to get pretty smashed up.
yeah.
But other than that, they're going to tell a story the rest of their life about how they were on the 17th whenever the tree almost hit them in the head.
Yeah, normally at golf tournaments, you're worried about getting hit by a golf ball, not trees.
Not
So
trees. It did make me nervous the rest of the day. I've got some tall pine trees on my property, and I'm thinking,
yes,
has it rained too much? Like, is this going to become a problem? But all the trees are still fine, still good.
good, good. So, what did you think about the tournament?
You know, um, I think I'm trying to think of the most number of holes that I've ever played in a day. I don't know if I've ever played over 18. And I was just thinking through some of the guys on the leaderboard today and how they kind of fell, and thinking normally if you play on your third round and you don't play well, you can get off the course, you can go with your swing coach, you can go home with your family, whatever it is that you need to decompress, get it out of your system, come back maybe early the next day if you've got a mid-morning or early afternoon tea time, and kind of work out the kinks. What, hour and a half? Maybe. I don't even know. Today's Easter Sunday, so I didn't get to see the end of the third round. So I don't even know if they went in and changed. I'm guessing they might have swapped out a golf glove or something, but it's not like you can go and fix
Right.
or address the issues. And so you saw Kepka, he lost five strokes today. There were a couple other guys. Bennett, I think, struggled a little bit. Hovland, Ended up at the end coming on strong, but still, you got to think through mentally. You just played not great in the morning, and then now you just got to, lace them back up and go back out and try to figure out the afternoon as well. So, and then the opposite obviously is true. Phil comes back and shoots what, an 8 under today on the last 18. So maybe if you get hot, that ends up becoming a really great thing. But I just don't know how mentally you reset after if you struggled in the morning.
Yeah.
So
No, that's a great point. I think Kepka is the one that everybody looks at the most, where they, he, what, 4-shot lead, or I don't know what it was when they started. They played 6 holes of the third round, and then they had to go off. So you're right. I mean, his last, last 12 holes or something there, and then the
yeah.
last, his whole last round. Yeah, he wasn't quite there, and Rahm was. So Rahm played well. So what did we saw, you know, we were talking about it earlier. They were trying to point out all the different things. It was Seve's birthday. Rahm's obviously Spanish.
Yeah.
One of his heroes is Seve Ballesteros, and it was his birthday. It was the anniversary of his win 40 years ago from his second green jacket. So all the different things. I mean, what did you think of them pointing all that out to Rahm? I mean, he knew some of it.
Yeah, he obviously knew some of it. That goes back to where's your head as a professional whenever you're in the middle of it. Are you even paying attention to anything that, obviously they've got to fill up airtime, right? So at some point they probably have sheets of information about what to talk about while they're walking up from one to the other. And whenever you get to the last pairing, there's no one else to turn the camera to. For the last hole or two, there's just those guys. They were talking about numerology at one point, the fact that it was 4-9. And I think I learned this last year. The
On the
caddy
caddy bib,
numbers,
right? Yeah,
that's right. So the caddies, the reason the number gets picked out, if you win, you're going to be number one. And then after that, it is just whenever you show up. And apparently some guys are maybe a little stitious and they will literally not check in if it's the number they don't want. And of course,
I
everyone's
wouldn't
talking
doubt
about
it.
how,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, like if you had last year's number 22, you're probably gonna, if you walk in and you're 22, you're gonna be like, no, 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 I'll pick it. We'll wait for a few other guys. But they were talking about how it was 4-9, today's 4-9. And then whenever they mentioned at Butler Cabin that was the date, and he kind of seemed surprised, but it makes sense because if you're European, today is not 4-9, it's 9-4. For
right.
those of you who don't know, they do date and then month, not the other way around. So, and the other thing I noticed is that he wears his watch on his right arm instead of his left arm, which I thought was interesting because I'm left-handed, but I don't think he is. So, yeah,
Yeah, interesting.
I,
Yeah,
I would like to,
that was kind of a stretch, I think. I mean, again,
yeah, I
they were
mean,
looking for stuff, but he obviously knew Seve. You know, it was his birthday and the 40th anniversary. I mean, he said this is his hero, right? He even
yeah.
mentioned the Ryder Cup back when he was a kid, and his family took him to that. And so yeah, it was cool to see. It was neat to see him win. He's a great golfer.
Yeah, I would like to mention the runner-up since last year. I feel like I was made fun, or last week I was made fun of just a little bit whenever I mentioned, "Hey, I'm going to pick Phil Mickelson for the win." He was on my fantasy team as well. Didn't quite help me out as much as my other 3 guys who bailed on me. But honestly, I hate doing it, but I was actually cheering for someone to lose. So I think it was on 12 and 13. I'm like yelling at the TV for Rom to hit a ball in the water just because I really wanted a playoff of some kind. I think it'd have been amazing TV, and we probably wouldn't be doing this podcast now because it'd be too late at night if they had a playoff. But it'd have been so awesome if everybody got back to like -8 and they had a 3-way playoff. But Lefty at 52 did have a heck of a Sunday and made it a little bit more interesting and maybe a little bit more pressure on some of the guys in the lead.
Yeah, that's they talk about posting a number, right? You get in there and you post a number and see what happens. Because by the time they'd done it, I think John Rahm and Kepka had only maybe finished 10 or were on 10 by the time Phil and Spieth were done, and a lot of golf left. And obviously you have Amen Corner, and a lot of things could go wrong. But they played it well. It's crazy thinking, like, there are Phil fans out there still. I mean, with the live stuff and
Yep.
the words that he's chosen to use early on about that. I mean, he took himself out. He didn't play the Masters last year because of the comments he made. and the reaction he was getting. So it would have been very interesting to see the reaction of people if he would have won it. The reaction of the tour, reaction of the Augusta National folks. Obviously, they would have celebrated, put on a happy face, but did they really want somebody from Live to do it, even if it was a former champion?
Yeah, and you talk about Rahm, I think you're right. I think you finished up, they were coming off 10 or 11. So I want to ask you, how would you have played the last three holes? Obviously, Rahm, I think, was at a point where he wasn't worried about shooting an eight, but you still had Koepka there who was trying to pour it on, trying to get some birdies. How would you have played, say, the last three holes if you were Rahm?
Um, Very nervous, much more nervous than than he did. I was sitting there watching it with Archie, my son, and I think 16. I probably would have done what he did, maybe even further right, like away from the water, like hit it in the middle of the green, a little long, to where you try not to bring any water into play at all. And if you get it, you get it up on top of the hill, most of the time it's going to roll back anyway. So I would have done 16 there, and then 17, 18, just try to hit the fairway. Make bogey at worst on both of those holes, and you are wearing a green jacket. So I think he did well. I mean, he got away with one for sure on 18. They were saying, I think on TV, or maybe Archie said, I don't know if they've ever had somebody hit a provisional then win the Masters. And I
That's
said, well,
right.
they probably haven't had somebody hit it from where he's about to hit his second shot either to win the Masters. So yeah, I think just something out in the fairway, something out in between the trees, hoping you can get it out there and then get it up somewhere close to the green, away from bunkers. Because I'd probably skull one out of the bunker into the crowd, and then you'd really see me starting to sweat trying to get it up and down, and way too many strokes to try to win it. How about you? How would you have done it
Yeah,
if you if
I
you
feel
come to
like
18 and you got a 4 shot lead? What do you do?
I'm probably going pitching wedge like five times, like whatever it is that's going to go 150 yards in front of me straight away. We had the benefit of Brooks having the honors on both of the last two holes, and I don't understand whenever he play. I mean, granted, I don't hit a driver well enough for to be a professional at all. So whenever Brooks goes off to the left and he's going to have a difficult up and down to try to get par there, I don't know why you don't put the driver back in the bag, pull out a 3 wood or some sort of long iron, and just know that you're gonna, like you said, bogey bogey, and you're in a green jacket. And then on 18, one, I don't under any circumstance, I'm gonna be nervous trying to do 18 because on TV it looks really close. And then whenever you get there, it's even closer. Like I have
Yeah,
no idea how you even consider hitting a straight ball down that chute. Um, the obviously the bunkers are not in play for anything I'm swinging for, but yeah, I mean I'm serious. Like I'd probably pull out seven, get me to the little bit edge of the corner, throw another some whatever, basically what he did, right? He it just happened to bounce out and be okay. Jordan had the same scenario though, right? He went far left just
yeah.
there at the last and was able to cover par. And the one thing I did like
No, he
about it
he made a
though,
bogey.
oh, that's right, he did. He went down to seven.
Yeah,
The thing I did like about it, and you always hope that your champion has a really good 18. That that third shot, like that was
yeah,
great. To hit it right at the right spot, roll it up, and then you're the only guy left putting, and everyone's willing you to drain it instead of having to like two putt or something. And that's championship material right there. His nerves didn't
absolutely.
get to him. He didn't pause at all. Um, yeah, but I 100% 7 iron the whole way. Of course, to be fair, I think if I just played a 7 iron at the national, maybe not from the pro tees, but maybe from the member tees, I think I'd be okay.
Yeah, yeah. It was you know, if we were there,
Yeah,
we'd
right.
definitely, we say we'd play it different, but who knows? So, if we were there, we'd be amateurs. What about our amateur this week that made the cut?
Oh man,
Kid from Texas A&M goes out and won. They were saying on TV he has a tournament tomorrow
tomorrow.
back at home where he has to play 36 and
Yeah,
carry his bag. So,
and
what do
curious
you think
bag.
about Bennett's play at the Masters?
I mean, one, it's got to be the feel good story of the year, right? Just in terms of what his life has done, the openness. I don't know if you saw on the Golf Channel talking about his father at
Hmm.
45 being, I'm 43, we're about the same age, I'll be 44, and just thinking through like your children living through that. An incredible, um, I don't know how you stay composed. Your first time playing, you're in the mix. Obviously a great golfer, but still, he even mentioned, he's like, what's the best thing? He's like walking up on the 18th. Uh, and I read an article just a little bit ago talked about how obviously he can't win a purse,
Hmm.
but NIL, buddy, he already had a couple sponsors, and they're talking about, I mean, this could be a 7-figure deal for him. So
Wow.
it's also goes to show, because I've talked to some folks that were trying to be pro at one point, and work at golf courses now and stuff like that. The quality of play at an amateur level. I mean, this kid's in college, and he's out there destroying what? How many people started? 80 or so guys started, and he ended up sixth, seventh, or he ended up
Oh, way
16th,
more
I
than
think.
that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I mean, just that level of competition. And at some point, golf is not only against yourself in the course, but at some point there is somebody else. And if I were a pro right now, I'd be looking at this going, crap, I got to deal with this kid for another. Well, I mean, look, Sandy Lyle and Fred Couples and those guys playing into their 60s. You got to deal with this kid for another 40 years.
Hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean he's going to become the next Tiger, the next Jordan, or anything like that. But still, how incredible to be poised. I wouldn't handle that kind of pressure at
No.
43. 23 years old, out there like he knows what he's doing, and obviously does. So I thought that was a great story for the week.
Yeah, it was fun to watch, and just when you think about where's the game of golf going, I think it's going to be in good hands because after Tiger, which elevated everything, right? Everybody
Yeah,
that is still in the game thanks Tiger for the attention he's brought to the sport. Obviously, the money that has come along with it, and this is just another one of the fruits of that. I mean, Tiger winning his first Masters, the kid wasn't even born yet, and now he gets to
yeah,
come in this thing, be one of the next stars on the tour. So it'll be fun to watch him and all the other guys. So, but yeah, I mean, you mentioned Sandy Lyle and other guy, Fred Couples out there. Fred making the cut at 62.
that's right.
That just shows, and we talked about this earlier before we started recording, just how golf and again what we're trying to do and just telling stories. You made the comment. I think it's about who you're playing with, right?
That's right.
And you got a kid that's 23. You got guys that are into their 60s that are playing the same course from the same tees and playing well, and it's all about who you're going to play with. So.
Yeah,
Um,
my son starts first tee on Thursday for the very first time. He's 12, and I mentioned today, I was like, hey, you know what? If you get really good at golf and win the Masters, you'd be the second person from Augusta to win the Masters, because Larry Mize obviously is the other guy. He goes, really? I'm like, yeah. Now in the back of my head, I love my son, but like he's 12 years old and has really never picked up a golf club. So maybe he's a phenom, and in about 10 or 15 years, we'll be walking with him. I'll be his caddy on the back nine of Augusta National. But it goes back to who you're going to play with. He's 12 years old, and we're already talking about when we get to play together for the first time and go out on the course. And you think about, those guys, grandparents at 60 something, and really honestly having the opportunity to go out with their kids and maybe even their grandkids over the next 20 years or so and still have a good time with the folks that you love and want to be around.
Yeah, I heard a story. Scotty Scheffler obviously won last year, and he said during his practice leading up, he went to the course sometime before this year's Masters, took his dad with him, and they were saying that's one of the first like full rounds of golf they played together, just because his dad's like, hey, you go do your thing, I'll get out of your way.
Yeah,
You're practicing and all this other stuff, but that would, of all the places to play with your kid, with a family member, playing
yeah.
there would be pretty special. So,
Well, when Micaiah turns pro, or Archie, actually Archie's probably a lot closer to turning pro than Micaiah right now. So
yeah,
uh I just some sort of badge or pass or something, maybe to be behind the ropes. So
maybe we can caddy for him in the par three contest.
that'd be great.
They'll let us
Actually,
take
drive
one
chip.
shot. Yeah, they'll let us take one shot on number nine.
I'll take that shot any day.
Absolutely.
Any day at
Would
all.
you get it on the green?
I would probably grab whatever extra club I need to make sure that it gets there.
And you'd be hitting it up into the people.
Well, actually, that happened. One of the caddies, I think one of the wives knocked it into the crowd. But
That's funny.
there'd be a lot of practice involved in my life before I
Yeah.
went out there and tried to do that. So, well, this week is I think is it RBC? Is that right?
Yeah, the Heritage here in South Carolina,
So we'll pass
down
it
in
off
Hilton
from
Head.
Georgia over to South Carolina.
I appreciate it. I
Talk a little bit
appreciate it.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the RBC Heritage. I've been down there a couple times. It's a great tournament. Um, playing at Harbour Town, and you got the famous lighthouse out there. It's a much different course than Augusta National. Augusta National, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, pretty wide fairways for the most part. You got your pine trees that are hanging out and things, but at Harbour Town, it is very narrow. It's one of those shot maker courses to where you've got to get it in a fairway, and then you're even on your second shot, you might be there, and you're gonna have to kind of bend it around a tree one way or the other, and then you got greens that are surrounded by either marsh or sand or planks or whatever, and it's going to be a different test for them, but it's one of the elevated tournaments this year, so it's getting some big name guys that are going to be there, so it'll be fun to watch.
It should be good. Plus, it's not hurt. Doesn't hurt that after your weekend of work at the Masters, you get to go kind of enjoy the beach for a couple days.
Absolutely, and a lot of pros. This tournament is traditionally after the Masters, and a lot of pros will go down there because it's different. And people that experience both, at the Masters, you're there, but most of the time you're pretty far away from where the guys are hitting it because they're in the fairways, and you're decent ways away from that. But then you go down to the Heritage, and you're right next to them. I mean, the narrow, a guy hits it just into the rough, and you're 10 feet away. So it's a lot of fun. Hopefully it'll be great weather this weekend down in Hilton Head, and hopefully it'll be a good tournament.
Yeah.
Archie plays on the high school golf team, and his golf coach, we try to get on, we'll get him on here at some point, is George Bryan. He's a local teaching pro and training pro here in Columbia area. And his sons are the Bryan brothers, who many people know in the golf world, but one of the sons, Wesley Bryan, he won down there back in, I think, 2017. So we'll try to get Wesley on at some point to get his favorite golf stories and learn more about him, and maybe his favorite shot. It might be from that tournament. So,
well, if you win a tournament, I'm guessing one of those is going to be your favorite shot, I would guess.
yeah, the last putt is
That's
my
right.
favorite. That won it.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, let me ask this. Watched a lot of golf this weekend, a lot of the Masters. Do you have a favorite shot? We'll kind of start wrapping up with this. Do you have a favorite shot from the weekend or from
Yeah.
the whole tournament?
There's so many. Well, there were so many that looked like the perfect shot, and then the backspin would kick and throw it into the water. And I don't even really know how to backspin, so that just kind of baffles me a bit. But uh, I think Rahm coming in on the 18th, you hope your champion does, finishes up, and that third shot, just the pressure of that, knowing, I mean, he's got some shots available, but still, he drops that third one close enough, and then you're the only guy left to hit in the entire tournament, and he hits the par putt. So
Yeah.
it's always fun to watch the champion be able to come in, especially out of that final pairing, and just sort of do the right thing and hit it the right way.
Yeah, it's funny though. We talk about telling stories in golf, and if somebody didn't watch the tournament and they look at his scorecard, they're like, "Hey, good, you got a par. You must have played it exactly like you're supposed to." And he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa!
Yeah,
Actually, I hit a tree and it dropped. I hit it about 100 yards with my driver, and even took a provisional because I thought it was lost." And like he goes
that's
into the
right.
whole story of then I laid it up, and then
Yeah,
I hit a perfect wedge and a par
perfect
putt to win
wedge.
the Masters. So.
Yeah,
Probably not how he drew it up, but he'll have that story to tell forever while
that's
he's
right.
wearing a green jacket.
Yeah.
So, yep, very nice.
How about you?
There were a lot of good ones. I think one of the ones that stood out to me was a young guy, Sahith Theegala, played at Pepperdine University. He hit a shot today on 16 that everybody, if you remember Tiger's shot from years ago when he hit it, on 16, the par three, and he had just a little long and to the left, so he had to hit a wedge, and he throws it up the hill, and it kind of checks and stops, and then rolls down the hill, pauses at the edge of the hole, and what was it? The Nike check mark was
The
right
ultimate
there.
Nike commercial, yeah.
Perfect Nike commercial, and then it drops, and he and Steve Williams, his caddy, are high five, and it was great. But anyway, Sahith Theegala did that today, minus the dramatic pause on the edge of the hole and fall in. But he was near that same spot, threw it up top of the hill, rolled down, dropped in the hole. And for a young guy on tour doing something that Tiger has done,
Yeah.
he was playing with Tony Finau. They were high five, and the crowd was going crazy. Like it was pretty cool. So and that guy's going to be good. You can write that down, Jonathan. He will win a bunch of golf tournaments.
Man, I don't know. So far, you're 0 for 1. Rory was supposed to win this week, and he didn't make the cut. But we'll write it down. Maybe we'll
Rory
come
did
back
not
to it
make the
later.
cut, but I think Rory will have a few more in him now. I think
He's probably going to be okay.
he'll probably figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll get him on the podcast too, get his thoughts for the week. But I mean, crazy weather. What let me ask you this. What's the worst weather? Maybe we'll end in here. What's the worst weather of golf that you've ever played in?
Well, it was whenever I played with you because I wouldn't play in they were talking about the weather and I'm sitting there thinking I don't even want to go outside. Like I just was watching rain from my own window. But yeah, down in Myrtle Beach, it was a weekend in January where Friday it was raining, Saturday it was sleeting, cart path only, your shoes are soaking wet. There were a few drinks that we were participating in to try to stay at least a little warm. Even nothing. It was, I don't know, maybe 35 degrees. I think on Sunday, I had to go home early. On Sunday, we were supposed to play the last round, and that didn't even happen because they wouldn't let anybody on the course because there was too much frost or going to kill.
Yeah.
So that was, I hope to be the last time that I ever play in weather like that. But to be fair, it was a lot of fun too. But yeah, by far, that was the worst weather.
Yeah, that one probably would tie. I've been in some times where it's all of a sudden it started downpouring, and I heard a guy on TV this weekend say, I'll play in one of the three, the rain, wind, or cold, but not
Yeah.
all three. And that's what those guys were doing. It was tough to watch. I'm surprised they got in as many as they did.
Yeah.
It's just the change in weather from practice round on Wednesday. They're playing the par three, and it's perfect. Thursday looked great, and then Friday things changed after the morning guys went out,
Just,
and
yeah,
the
the
guys
afternoon
in the
was
second wave.
miserable.
I mean, poor Justin Thomas and all the others. Justin Thomas is drops, I don't know, 5 or 6 strokes on the back nine because he's playing in the junk. Now, granted,
Yeah.
other guys were too, but he ends up missing the cut, and so anyway, it I think that's probably my worst weather story as well. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because anything other than that type of weekend, we're just packing it up and getting our IOU from the clubhouse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But if you were at the Masters and you're playing in that, I'd probably be like, all right, well, let's keep going. Let's
Uh,
finish it out.
they probably have better wet rain gear than what we did.
Yeah, and their drainage system's probably better than the courses we played.
A little bit better for sure.
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right.
Well,
Well, that was episode 3 of the Whole Story podcast brought to you by Best Ball. If you're interested in finding and telling your story to other friends and family, you can go to bestball.com. We've got some fun stuff on there. We can always do custom gear as well. So go check that out. Next week, we're hoping to be interviewing a father-son duo for a young up-and-coming rising star. I think he's 11. So hopefully we're going to get him on and his dad to talk about their experience and their golf stories too.
yeah, it'll
So,
be the first podcast where you get to meet them and get to know them, and we'll have it first.
yep. Well, I'm Jonathan for Robby. Thank you again for joining in, and we'll listen. Our one listener will hopefully pay attention to us next week too.
All right. See you guys.